Hey everyone, and welcome to Tactical 8, your portal to the captivating realm of all things Lorcana. I'm Bradley.
And I'm Alex. Today we continue discussing the tactics and strategies from Ursula's return, and the ink color of the day is steel.
We won't cover all the steel cards from the set, just the ones we feel that are going to impact the game. So please let us know in the comments if you feel we missed something.
So let's get started with the commons, and we have 6 common cards from steel that we found pretty interesting. The first one is Chinpo, Imperial Soldier. Chinpo is a 5 ink inkable character with 4 strength, 7 willpower, 1 lore. He is a Storyborn and ally, and he has the keyword bodyguard. Pretty straightforward bodyguard character here, but the thing that sets him apart from every other bodyguard in the game to me right now is his stats. Being a 4 strength character puts him out of range of Madame Medusa, and it also puts him far out of range of Sisu Empowered Sibling as well as Brawl. And having that 7 willpower will keep him alive for a long time against the characters that want to challenge him. Even Maui Hero to All isn't going to take him out on the first turn. So if you need somebody to protect some of your characters, like say Aerial Treasure Collector, something that's really valuable, this is a pretty good choice and it might be worth considering. I've seen several people running him and it's pretty effective.
Yeah, and one thing I'm not a fan of is that he's a 5 cost, so you still have your Dragonfire and Let It Go around that time. However, you can mix it up with Just in Time and get him out way earlier and be a huge protector for your small guys, like Lilo making a wish. Next up, we have Magical Broom, Aerial Cleaner. Magical Broom is a 2 cost inkable character with 2 strength and 3 willpower with 1 lore. It is a Dreamborn and a broom with the ability called Winged for a Day. It says, during your turn, this character gains evasive. So this ability is very similar to Jafar Royal Vizier and Cruella de Vil Fashionable Cruiser, except its strength and willpower are swapped. And I kind of like that because it can challenge characters like Diablo Devoted Herald and still be alive. However, you may want to run Baboom over it if that's the case, but it's one of the better broom cards in the game right now, so you need to be playing this card in your broom deck.
Yeah, this is a no-brainer for broom decks, but it can even see play in just a regular deck that's using steel as well to be able to deal with that Diablo, especially where he has evasive. But also things like Flynn Rider Frenemy, if they even were to quest with him, or Pegasus Gift of Hercules, and still be able to survive against either of those. So it's really just a choice of whether you want to run Baboom for the straight up fast damage, or this to be able to also have a body in play, albeit being a bit slower. And the next common card we're going to look at is Mickey Mouse Standard Bearer. Mickey Mouse is a 2 ink inkable character with 1 strength and 3 willpower and 1 lore. He is a Storyborn and hero, and he has the ability Stand Strong, which says when you play this character, chosen character gains Challenger +2 this turn. So this is really like a miniature version of Merlin Crab. He can pop onto the scene and just be a little bit of a surprise to take out one of your opponent's characters that they wouldn't have otherwise been expecting. I know, Bradley, you ran Ruby Steel for a little while at the beginning of this set, and this seemed pretty effective to you if you want to talk any more about it.
Yeah, and I went away from the steel part of that deck now, but when I was running it with Mickey Mouse, it was really cool to use with Goofy, Super Goof, giving him a little bit extra power and being able to knock out some things that he normally wouldn't be able to, and still gaining that lore. And also using it with Robin Hood, Champion of Sherwood, who has only 3 strength, and giving him a little more to knock out things even like Maui Hero to All.
That's a great point, because something like Maui Hero to All you could even use this with to take out maybe the Queen's Castle. Just very versatile, being able to give a character 2 extra strength just out of the blue like this.
Next up, we have Triton's Decree. Triton's Decree is a steel action card that costs 1 and is uninkable. Its effect says, each opponent chooses one of their characters and deals 2 damage to it. So, the bad thing with this card is late game it stinks, because the 2 damage isn't doing much and your opponent chooses the character to get hit. However, early game this card has so much potential, especially since we're seeing characters like Pegasus Gift for Hercules, and Diablo Devoted Herald coming out early, taking control so early in the game.
Overall, I would like it a lot better if it was inkable so that it had more versatility, but it might find a 1-off or 2-off in a deck. And the next card we're going to look at is the item Fortisphere. Fortisphere is a 1-ink inkable item with 2 abilities, the first being Resourceful, which says when you play this item, you may draw a card. And the second is Extractive Steel, which says to pay 1 ink and banish this item. Chosen character of yours gains Bodyguard until the start of your next turn. This is one of my favorite cards from this set. It's very simple, just like Popsicle. The only difference being its second effect, which allows one of your characters to gain Bodyguard, which can sometimes come in handy. Somebody like Hiram Flavershem that you'd be using alongside this, who has 6 willpower, can be a pretty good bodyguard. And that's just one small example. But really, you're playing this to be able to draw a card on your first turn, and very soon after, banish it with Hiram and draw 2 more cards, effectively drawing you 3 cards out of 1 item. And being able to have so many little items in play like this and Popsicle can make your Aerial Treasure Collector and Tamatoa So Shiny really pop off.
Yeah, and it's also a good target for your Queen Diviner, who can also search the top 4 cards of your deck, and if it's there, you can play it for free, just like Popsicle, so that's really cool. Next up, we have the location Thebes, the Big Olive. Thebes is a location that costs 2 and is inkable. It has a move cost of 1 and a willpower of 7. It has the ability, if you can make it here. It says, during your turn, whenever a character banishes another character in a challenge while here, gain 2 lore. So this location gives a character that is here the effect of Robin Hood, Champion of Sherwood, at least the one where it gains you 2 lore every time you challenge a character and banish it during your turn. I like it, and especially since it's got a cheap move cost. However, I'm not seeing it really ran well, so maybe it'll come around eventually, but right now I just don't think there's enough to make it really pop off.
This is somewhat comparable to one of your 4 ink locations like McDuck Manor or the Queen's Castle, in that this only costs 2 ink and it has no passive lore, but it has an upside of potentially gaining you 2 lore or more every turn. Those 2 locations just automatically give you that 2 lore every turn. Overall, I think those are more consistent, but there could be a place for this. I think it's really dying to be played with Ruby that loves to challenge, with Maui Hero to All, Super Goof, but as far as the locations that require setup like this, I think it's one of the better choices, and it might actually see some play one day. And that's it for our common cards, so let's move on to the uncommons. We have 3 here that we wanted to look at, and the first one being Aladdin, Brave Rescuer. Aladdin is a 3-ink inkable character with 3 strength, 3 willpower, and 1 lore. He is a Floodborn and a hero, and he has Shift, discard a location card. You may discard a location to play this on top of one of your characters named Aladdin. And then he also has the ability Crashing Through, which says whenever this character quests, you may banish chosen item. So I think the thing that is making this Aladdin more playable at the moment than Benja, Guardian of the Dragon Gem, or Beast Hardheaded is the fact that he is a Floodborn, which pairs so well with Bucky in this discard Emerald theme. Playing Bucky on turn 2 and then having Aladdin come out on turn 3 is pretty powerful, and then he can start banishing items multiple times. Having 3 strength and 3 willpower is pretty decent these days to keep him a little bit safer than some other characters.
Next up is the action song I Find 'Em, I Flatten 'Em. This is a steel action card that costs 4 ink and is inkable. And since it's a song, a character with a cost of 4 or more can exert to sing this song for free. And its effect is simple: banish all items. So this can be a really great card if you're playing against a lot of items. However, right now, the only decks really running items are your Steel Sapphire and your Ruby Sapphire decks. And that's pretty much it. So probably only about 20% of the time are you going to see items. So this just becomes a card you ink. So maybe one day we'll get side decks and this can be a perfect side deck item. Or even later down the road we'll get better items for all colors. But right now, it's just not seeing play.
I could still see this maybe being worth one copy in Steel Song or in Emerald Steel Discard, but you may just be wanting to fill out your 60 cards with things that are more effective in those decks. I definitely wouldn't play this in Steel Sapphire because you want to keep your items around. But if any of these Sapphire item decks are giving you a lot of trouble, this is a clear option to deal with them swiftly. And it's definitely something to look at as the game keeps going on. The final uncommon we're going to take a look at is a Sing Together song. This one is the Mob Song. The Mob Song is a 10 ink uninkable song, and it has Sing Together 10, so any number of you or your teammates' characters with a total cost of 10 or more can exert to sing this song for free. And it says deal 3 damage to up to 3 chosen characters and or locations. This is pretty similar to Grab Your Swords. It only works on 3 characters, but it could also work on locations. And it does a little bit more damage, doing 3 damage versus where Grab Your Sword does 2. I personally haven't seen this being played a whole lot yet, but it is pretty powerful. And I mostly see this being something that you would be using in Steel Song, with those high cost singers that can make it easier to sing this song and keep yourself in total board dominance.
Next up, we'll get into our rares, and we have 3 of them. And first up, we have LeFou, Opportunistic Flunky. LeFou is a 3-cost inkable character that has 2 strength and 3 willpower, with 1 lore. He is a Dreamborn and ally, with the ability, I learned from the best. It says, during your turn, you may play this character for free if an opposing character was banished in a challenge this turn. So, I love playing cards for free. That's why songs are so good. That's why I like using cards such as Mufasa, Betrayed Leader. However, I don't feel like there's much challenging going on in the meta right now early in the game. So I believe that this effect is going to be happening later in the game. Where he's not going to be as effective as a 2/3 with 1 lore. And if you don't get his effect off, you can either play him as ink or just as a pretty much a vanilla 3-cost, which is not doing you very much. So I would rather run some other cards. However, maybe if we get to see some effects and abilities where for each time you play a character, an effect happens or triggers, maybe. But right now, I'm just not seeing it.
Yeah, the thing that makes him the most interesting to me is early game. Playing him after something like Captain Hook Forceful Duelist, Rafiki Mystical Fighter, these early game characters that like to challenge, or even like the Pinocchio Talkative Puppet to exert a character and challenge with Captain Hook or someone like that. That's when this LeFou really gains a lot of value, because you could be pulling him out for free on turn 2 and then singing some of your 3 ink songs earlier than you should be able to, like Friends on the Other Side, Let the Storm Rage On, Strength of a Raging Fire, and so on. Also, playing him along with like the Madam Mims to bounce back and forth to your hand for free can really just give you a lot of characters on the board quickly, especially if you have more than one of him in your hand. He could also be really effective in this way with the Sing Together songs. So it's something to keep in mind as the game keeps going to see if he's really going to fit into the picture or not. But being able to play things for free is always interesting, and it's something to look out for. So the next card is Mickey Mouse Playful Sorcerer. Mickey is a 5 ink inkable character with 3 strength, 4 willpower, and 2 lore. He's a Floodborn, hero, and sorcerer, and he has Shift 3 and Resist +1. And he has the ability Sweep Away, which says when you play this character, deal damage to chosen character equal to the number of broom characters that you have in play. This Mickey Mouse is a big upgrade to the broom archetype that we've seen getting more and more love throughout Ursula's return. He's definitely a staple to playing that deck that you'll want to use. Bringing him out on turn 3 is really great. Like all the 5 ink Shift 3 Floodborns that we have, able to sing A Whole New World and Grab Your Swords, and we don't talk about Bruno, stuff like that, really early.
This is the direction that brooms are wanting to go in. However, I still just don't think it's there yet. We are seeing some of these broom decks kind of sneak in here and there a little bit, But again, until the next few sets come out and we see some more brooms, I just don't think it's there yet. Next up, we have Phil, No Nonsense Instructor. He is a 4-cost inkable character with 2 strength, 3 willpower, and 2 lore. He is a Storyborn and ally with 2 abilities. The first one is called You Gotta Stay Focused. It says your hero characters gain Challenger +1. And the next one is Shameless Promoter. It says whenever you play a hero character, gain 1 lore. The really cool thing about this card is that it can go with pretty much any combination of colors with steel, as long as you got heroes in there. And about 40% of all characters in the game right now have hero, so you can really mix him almost any deck. So for example, you have your Steel Amber. You can run a Stitch Rockstar deck with a lot of low cost heroes and really just get a bunch of cards out and play a whole board of characters. Or you could even go the route that Alex took with the starter deck improvement of Steel Sapphire and throw a mix of items in there as well. There's just a lot of different options you can use with him. Gaining lore for free can really help you win the game.
Yep, he can be pretty powerful if you don't have the right tools to deal with him. However, there are some pretty good tools in the game right now to deal with him. All the low strength hate falls right on top of him, having only 2 strength, so he gets hit by Brawl, he gets hit by Madame Medusa, Under the Sea, Sisu Empowered Sibling, all of them. And that's the main thing that's taken him out of the meta at the moment, I think. Otherwise, the 3 willpower could keep him alive a little bit longer. But having that unexpected lore gain, kind of like a Merlin goat, that makes him one of the first targets you want to get rid of as soon as you see him hit the board. Alright, so let's move on to the super rares, and we've only got one that we wanted to take a look at here. And that is Ariel Sonic Warrior. Ariel is a 6-ink inkable character with 3 strength and 8 willpower and 2 lore. She is a Floodborn hero and princess. She has Shift 4 and the ability Amplified Voice, which says whenever you play a song, you may pay 2 ink to deal 3 damage to chosen character. The thing that I like the most about this Ariel is for something like Steel Song, playing Ariel Spectacular Singer on turn 3 to find the song that you want, and then on turn 4 you shift into this one who has much stronger stats and is really hard to take out with that 8 willpower. It really stinks that you have to pay 2 ink to deal that damage, so you can't do it immediately on turn 4. You'll have to wait until your next turn to be able to really utilize her. And that's a big drawback to me. However, she is still really strong and a big threat once she hits the board.
And finally we get into our legendary cards, and we have 2. The first one is Donald Duck Buccaneer. Donald is a 4-cost inkable character that has 3 strength and 4 willpower with 1 lore. He is a Dreamborn, hero, pirate, and captain, with the ability Boarding Party. It says, during your turn, whenever this character banishes a character in a challenge, your other characters get +1 lore this turn. So this is very similar to Ruby's version of Mulan Imperial Soldier. However, it costs 1 less, but with that, it has 1 less strength and 1 less willpower. I think the one thing that may make this card better than Mulan is not only that it comes out a turn earlier, but it also can be used with the Jolly Roger hook ship, which gives pirates rush. So if you're playing a Ruby Steel pirate deck, this could possibly be a really good card. However, I don't think that pirate theme's quite there yet. Maybe if we get some more pirates in the future, we could really see it just get better.
Yeah, that pirate theme, I think, depends so much on the Jolly Roger, being able to get that in play and keep it in. I think it just needs some more support like that to make it more effective. The Jolly Roger's a really good location along with pirates, but without it, the pirate deck just isn't very good, and this Donald really isn't that great without it as well. And the other legendary is Piglet Sturdy Swordsman. And here he is. He sucks. Well, that's all for today. What steel cards from Ursula's return do you think will be the best? Leave us a comment below.
Be sure to follow us on social media to keep up to date on the latest Tactical Ink news. And also be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you can tune in every week for a new episode of Tactical Ink.
See you next week.